All right, welcome to video packets for lab session 8. As always, I am just going to go right down the lab packet. So this is cardiovascular week. I did make sure to keep these in order this week, so it'll just go page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Should be convenient for you guys. All right, so the first one I want to point out is this red one right here. This is the brachiocephalic artery. So we talked about in lecture how there are 3 branches off the aortic arch. This is the aortic arch. The brachiocephalic artery was the one on the right side. So moving our way down, we then have the brachiocephalic vein. So the brachiocephalic vein is right here, where these come together. Then we come down through the superior vena cava, which is right here. Once we get down, we get to the right atrium. So the right atrium would be coming through here into this chamber. From the right atrium, we then go to the right ventricle, which is this chamber down here. In the middle, though, on this outside layer, this more superficial layer, we have our right coronary artery. So the right coronary artery is going to be this one right here. This is our right coronary artery. Excuse me. And then we can come down and we have the anterior cardiac veins, which is this one and this one. So veins, plural, your anterior cardiac veins. At the very tip, bottom, as we talked about, this is the apex, this whole region. We then go over to the left side. We have the left ventricle, which is right here. From that, we have the great cardiac vein. So if you see this blue, this nice blue vein running through here, that is the great cardiac vein. Above it, you have this red one that kind of zigzags its way up and then back down. That is the anterior interventricular artery, which is also known as the left coronary artery. Either term should work for us. We then have the left atrium, which is right here. It's this chamber. Left ventricle, if I didn't say it already, is here. Going up, we then have the pulmonary trunk, connects with the lungs. Going up even farther, we have the pulmonary artery, which splits off. So you can see it here, it's kind of capped in white. So this right here. You see there's that number and then the white section. That is the pulmonary artery. And then we have the aorta, which I already sort of pointed out. The aorta goes across here. So that is page 1, the anterior view. So I'm just going to flip it over to this back side, which has 3 images. Starting at the top, we have, this looks like a posterior view. So we have the descending aorta. So the descending aorta is, is right here. Yeah, sorry. It's trying to match the angle. So it looks sort of like this. But this is the descending aorta. You can see it's part of that aortic arch. So this would be your ascending. You have the aortic arch. And then it descends down towards that abdominal aorta. Down beneath this one, you have the backside, the left atrium. It would be about in this area right here. Going down, you have the left ventricle, which would be more down here. You have the posterior interventricular artery. Like the name implies, it goes right between the ventricles. It's interventricular on the posterior side. So if this is the left ventricle, this is the posterior interventricular, then of course this would be the right ventricle. Going up from the right ventricle, you have the inferior vena cava, which is right here. And then you also have, splitting just beneath it, you have the middle cardiac vein. So following down, that is the middle cardiac vein headed towards the posterior interventricular artery, which would be through here, splitting the ventricles again, like I said a minute ago. We also have this thicker area. This is the coronary sinus. Coronary sinus, as we know, drains into the right atrium, so hence its location kind of close to the right atrium, which is our next one. So, excuse me. Our right atrium is up here, so you can see where it goes, and then we'll drain in here. And then above that, you have the pulmonary veins, which are going to be these right here. So, excuse me, these right here. These would be the pulmonary veins. Okay. So again, we go to this lateral right view. Trying to get these angles right. So I get a little disoriented when I look at the photos sometimes. So yes, we have the lateral right view. So we have the pulmonary veins up here, which we just pointed out. We also have our pulmonary artery, which is right here. And then it also shows the small cardiac vein, which is going to be this one, this blue one here. It's a small cardiac vein. Then we go to the lateral left view. Got a little bit more vessels going on over here. So you can tell it's the left side. We also see the pulmonary veins over here. So just like there's pulmonary veins over here, there are pulmonary veins over here. So do you see that? That's because we have two sets of lungs. Pulmonary has to do with the lungs. Pulmonary veins would be these and these coming from either side. We then, beneath that, have the circumflex artery, which is part of the left coronary artery. That is going to be right here. And then we also have the posterior vein on the left ventricle, which is going to be right here. So hopefully you can kind of see. I'm going to give you one last rotation of this outside. As always, I encourage you to rewind, pause, do whatever you need to study. So our next one, we are looking at the open heart with all the flaps opened up. So it looks something like this. All right. So, starting at the top, the larger photo, we have the aortic valve. So if this is the aortic valve would be right here. It's separating the aorta from the left ventricle. So the left ventricle would go down through here, and then the, through right here. Getting my left to right with the screen being flipped. Okay, so you can see the aortic valve would be right here. We have the sinoatrial valve, the sinoatrial node, which is going to be right here. So you can see on the, I'm all mixed up with this screen. Yes, it would be right here. So you have the SA node, which is that first level of the electrical conduction system. Going down from the SA node, we have the tricuspid valve. So tricuspid has 3 flaps, so each of these flaps would have 1, 2, and then 3 flaps. You then have, so again, that's the tricuspid. The next one it points out is the septum. So this thick wall between the ventricles is the septum. So going back to the tricuspid valve, you have all these cusps have these strings that come off of them, and they connect to little muscles. So these little muscles are the papillary muscles. So if we were to close this and it was real heart, these strings would then connect to these muscles, and when the muscles contract, it opens the flaps. The other thing it shows here is the pulmonary valve. So this right here is the pulmonary valve. You can see coming down from the right ventricle, the blood would then go this direction through this valve into our pulmonary artery. Okay, moving to the other side, we have the bicuspid valve. So this is the bicuspid, again, two flaps, one back there, one up here. And then the next thing it points out is the left coronary artery, which is going to be right there. Do you kind of see this darker red band? That is the coronary artery. So it's kind of within. So if we were cutting back, it is deep right there. And then we also have the pulmonary artery, which you see here. Okay. So with this lateral side view, the next thing it's going to want to point out to you is this electric conduction system. So I'm going to start over because I was confused a minute ago, so I want to make sure this is very clear. So we'll start with the SA node, which is up here. You see that? It then travels, and if we were to travel down, it then, you'll see with this closed, it would travel from here to here. This section right here, that is now going to be the AV node, which is kind of hard to see in your image packets. But it's just, again, a spot where that message is delayed briefly. So you can see this number down here would represent it. Not a huge concern right now. You then go down to the bundle branches. So the bundle branches are left and right side within the septum. So there's going to be one here and one over here. And then once they get down, they split into the Purkinje fibers, which goes through the apex area and kind of wraps back upwards anteriorly. So with this electric conduction system, I always encourage everyone to know, it's important to know where it's located, but I really want to stress that you guys know the pattern, knowing that it goes SA node, AV node, bundle branches, and Purkinje fibers. Look back to your lab lecture, look back to your class lecture, and figure out what each does. And I think that'll be just as helpful as anything else. So we're going to flip over here. Okay, so I'm looking at this right here. So we have a picture here, a flat picture here. So this is not an actual model. I didn't get them out because they're kind of large and hard to work with. But these are just a flat model. So look at the picture for these top two. You can see, so with this one, for example, you may have seen this in your PowerPoint already, depending on who your lab instructor is. We have the common carotid, you have the external, which goes outwards to kind of the surface area, and then you have the internal carotid, which goes towards the brain. You can look at these pictures and figure out what's going there. We then have our arteries of the arm, which are back on this model. So you have the brachial artery, which is going to go through the arm. It then comes down and splits right here to the headed towards the pinky. So that would be the ulnar. And then on this side, headed towards the thumb, it's the radial artery. That's all that's there. There's more arteries here. We could point out, like up here, it's the median cubital, all blood from, but those don't matter as much, I guess, for the purpose of this. Okay, we are going to go for field trip. Okay, we are looking at, for this picture, we're looking at this person right here. So hopefully we can see. But you can see you have the body, we're up in the neck area. So you have, first one I want to point out is our carotid and our jugular. So the carotid artery would be the red one going up, and then the jugular vein, which heads down. So carotid takes blood to the brain and the head, and the jugular brings it back down. If we turn this way and remove a layer, we can see our subclavian. So it goes underneath the clavicle, subclavian, underneath the clavicle. There's one on this side and one on this side because we have to hit towards both the left and right arms. So going to our next page, it starts with this picture up here of the empty belly area. So you head down from the heart, we had the descending aorta, which goes through this area. You have the abdominal aorta, which goes through the abdomen. And then once you get to the hip area, where the hips would be, because they'd be right here, it splits into our external and internal iliac coming off of the common iliac. So this is the common iliac, which is right here, just at the top. So it splits, that first section that splits off the abdominal. You have our common iliac. And then you have the internal iliac, which goes through here. Kind of see them. Might be hard in this. Let's see if I can, I don't know if this is any easier, but you can kind of see a little better, I believe, that we have these angling back through here, and then another one angling through there. And then you have the external iliac, which goes through here. External iliac then goes into the legs. For example, we have right here would be our femoral artery and our femoral vein. Don't know how clear that was, so I'll put it out again. Femoral artery, femoral vein. Okay. The others are just pictures, so you can look at the pictures. And same with the back side. So this is our, again, I know it kind of looks like a model, but this is just 2D. It's a flat piece of paper. It's quite large. I would really struggle to show it to you on video, unfortunately, but you'll get I think you'll get just as much by looking at this picture. So that's our video packets for the week. As always, talk to Anna, Scarlett, or myself if you have any questions, and we can direct you. All right, good luck.